Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2022 Chevy Silverado RST, and today I'm gonna review it for you guys. The RST is relatively new in the Chevy Silverado trim lineup, and I'm sure RST stands for something, but I haven't taken the time to look it up because I personally wholeheartedly believe that the RST name was derived from a Chevy executive watching too many bonus rounds of Wheel of Fortune.
RSTLN.
Dave, I know what we're calling the truck. Ah, see? Now every time you watch Wheel of Fortune, you'll think of this. If anyone still watches Wheel of Fortune, I'm not 100% sure if anybody does. But in the case that you do, you might remember this cutaway joke. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Alton Chevrolet for allowing me to borrow this truck to review. If you're interested in a new or a used Chevrolet, I'll leave a link to their website, altonchevyallentown.com, in the description below. Starting out up front, as I always do, man, I should probably develop a new format. This 2022 Silverado is mid-cycle refreshed, which means it has an entirely new front fascia and a brand new interior, as well as some other unique new touches. But the main underpinnings of the truck are the same as the outgoing model. Speaking of this front end, you'll have full LED headlights up here with LED daytime running lights that double as your turn signals, and then you'll have LED fog lights down here and blacked out tow hooks. I really like the appearance package for the RST. I prefer the body colored front grille to the chrome. I'm not a huge fan of chrome. I know some people are, but I think this is one of the better looking versions of this new Silverado. And honestly, I think they've toned it down a little bit. The lines aren't as sharp on this front end, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They have kind of pulled back a little bit because the response to the 2019 Silverado when it was first unveiled was very mixed because it was so aggressive. And so they've kind of softened that look a little bit. I still think it looks great. Initially, I was a little unsure, but seeing it in person, I think it really does work. Moving underneath the hood. This is powered by a 3-liter inline-6 diesel engine. It's a Duramax that makes 277 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Very impressive numbers out of such a small inline-6. And that is paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Moving to the profile of the new Silverado RST, starting here with the headlight side marker, you'll have a little Chevy logo hidden in there. I think that's a nice little detail. Then you'll have your Silverado badge up here and your Duramax badge further up on the hood. If we move down here to the wheels and tires, you'll have two 675 60R tires wrapped around these 20-inch blacked out wheels. These are available on the RST package, and I think they contrast really well with this exterior red color. It's gorgeous. It's honestly just fantastic looking. I really, really like how this looks. Black wheels, I'm just a sucker for black wheels in general. I think they mesh really well with a lot of different trucks. Right here, you'll have blacked out mirror caps. The top part is gloss black because of the appearance package, and then the lower portion is just hard plastic. They are power mirrors, though there's not much more than that incorporated into them. Doesn't look like they have blind spot monitoring or heating incorporated into them. Moving right here, you will have keyless entry on the doors, so you just have to have the key in your pocket. You can lock and unlock the doors. And if we move further down here, just a pretty basic 4x4 badge on the rear, and then Chevrolet is stamped into the side of the bed at the top right there. Moving further along to the rear, one of my favorite features on any truck is this step right here. So you can just step right up to get into the bed easier. Makes getting into your bed incredibly convenient, very simple. Love that Chevy has that incorporated into their bumpers across their truck lineup. I think more trucks should do it. I don't know if Chevy has the copyright on that or not. Then you'll have your RST badge right there, Chevrolet stamped into the tailgate, Silverado, and then you'll have your tow hitch down here. Now, if we move up to the top of the tailgate, you'll have a backup camera and a puddle light. No longer a latch, it is a button on the Silverado, bringing the tailgate down right here. Puddle light helps, at night to see if there are puddles or other things on the ground so you don't step on them. Wouldn't want to accidentally do that. And so moving into the bed here, the Tailgate itself has a bed liner cover on it, though this particular RST does not have a bed liner option in it, though that is a dealer option if you'd like to get that. Right here you have a AC 120 volt power outlet, which is always really nice to see, and some LED bed lights, as well as some tie downs. Pretty basic bed, not a ton going on back here, but there is still useful truckiness incorporated into it. And the last thing I wanted to touch upon before we move to the interior is the key fob. So you'll have unlock, lock, remote start, panic, and then you'll also have the ability to drop the tailgate from the key fob. Moving to the interior of this new Silverado, wow, 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 wow. It went from definitely the lowest mid-trim interior quality in the segment to now the leader. I would argue for mid-trim trucks, this interior might be the leading one right now. Definitely think it's better than the Ram currently, and I think it might edge out the F-150, but let's take a look at some of the features. The first one I wanted to highlight is opening the door here and closing it. It's gonna give us this really cool graphic across both screens with the Chevy emblem forming, and then it's gonna say Silverado. I think that's so cool. You get that greeting from your truck right when you step in. What a neat little attention to detail. And then if we move to the door here, it is soft touch up at the top, really nice material. You'll get this faux wood trim right here, and then lock and unlock, really nice chrome door handle. I know I said I didn't like chrome, but I think if it's done tastefully, it can be done well. And then down here, you'll get some more of that trim and some leather stitching on the door. Again, for a mid-trim truck, very impressive. You'll have your mirror controls right here and your windows. I gotta turn the truck on to show you guys. So driver's side's one touch down, one touch up. The rest of the windows are pretty standard. I also have to turn the air conditioning down now so it doesn't go crazy. You'll have your electronic parking brake right here, your four-wheel drive settings, and your lighting controls right there, always nice to see. And then finally, the gauge cluster is fully digital. Really nice to see that. That is all controlled from the steering wheel. You can go through quite a lot of different settings in here. And because it's fully digital, you have a lot of different layout options. So you can see here, you can go to this one, which is gonna give you it's gonna like transform. It's gonna give you a completely different look. Always really cool to see. Tons of options because this is fully digital. I love that Chevy's giving you this option. So what you can do, we can display layout, and then we'll go to classic. I'll show you some other settings in here really briefly. Because you have this fully digital gauge cluster, you can kind of customize what you want in each of the gauges, which is really, really cool. Love to see that customization and flexibility in this digital gauge cluster. It definitely did not go to waste with just no customization options at all. Moving here, one interesting thing is this RST actually has paddle shifters. Love to see that. How often do you get paddle shifters on a pickup truck? Well, on this particular truck, you do. You'll have your controls for your radar guided cruise control, and then your heated steering wheel right here. Speaking of the steering wheel, it is leather wrapped, very comfortable, firm steering wheel with a pretty tight grip on it. So I like how it handles. You'll have your Bluetooth controls right there. And then these are the controls for your center gauge cluster. Moving to the infotainment system, which is just fantastic. I mean, so spiffy, really quick. Like, it's finally everything I've ever wanted from Chevy, because I've thought for quite a long time General Motors has had the fastest infotainment system in the game, and personally I also think they have the best backup cameras in the game currently, at least amongst the pickup truck competitors. I think they have some of the crispest, highest quality images, and the problem was it was just a really tiny screen comparatively, and you don't necessarily have to have the biggest screen, but because it was the same price tag as some of the other vehicles in the segment, I just did not think that it was worth it. Finally, I feel like, wow, this truck feels premium. It justifies its price tag with this interior, and the materials feel great. There is hard touch plastics in here along the center tunnel, but that does still have some chrome and nice wood accents. This is not the top high country trim. I'm not 100% sure if this is plastic as well in that trim, but the parts that you're gonna touch most frequently, like here on the armrest, the doors, the steering wheel I mentioned, heck, even the dashboard up here is trimmed in a really nice leather material, and it feels premium in here. It finally feels just so much better than the outgoing model's interior did. And you'll have Google Maps, Google Assistant built into this. Of course, you'll get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You'll have your lane keeping assist, your auto engine start stop, your button to drop your tailgate from in here, your hazards, your traction control off. And if you want all your windows to go down automatically, that button does that. So I suppose there is a one-touch all button window button. I just wasn't aware of it till right now. If we move down here, you'll have your engine start stop, you'll have your heated seats, which is always really nice to see, and you have two zones, which is cool. And then you'll have your climate controls in here, your USB and USB-C, and the aforementioned center tunnel area, which has wireless charging. So talking about this shifter really quick, it is very interesting. It's on kind of like a rocker. And what you do is, right now it's in park, and then you have reverse, neutral, drive, and low right here. So what you would do is you hit this button and you pull back, and that is gonna put you in drive. Obviously you have to have your foot on the brake, and then you can flip up for neutral, and you have to hold in for reverse, and then again that's gonna pull up your backup camera. All you have to do to throw it in park is right there. I don't know if I love this. I prefer a traditional shifter where I definitely know what gear I'm in. I can see older people not remembering what gear they're in, or thinking they're in park, or not throwing the electronic parking brake on. I can just see that being confusing for some people with how it's laid out, but it still works. It functions as an automatic shifter, just not my favorite. If I had to critique the interior a little bit, I would say I would just prefer a traditional tunnel shifter if possible. And then, like I mentioned, the leather armrest right here. Right down here, you'll have USB-C, USB, a household power outlet, and a removable little storage container. The seats here are cloth, fairly basic, but the bolstering is comfortable. The driver's seat is power operated. Everything else is manual though. You do get power lumbar, which is always nice to see too. For the most part, that concludes the interior on this RST. Let's take a quick look at the back, and then we'll take it for a spin. Moving to the rear seats in the Silverado, I probably have 5 or 6 inches of legroom and a good amount of headroom. Now I'm 5'9", and I fit back here very comfortably, just to give you kind of an idea of the storage and space back here. You'll also get climate vents, USB and USB-C, and then you can also lift up the seats for a more flush load floor. Forgive the haphazardly thrown floor mats. They just got this RST in, and I suppose they just haven't put them in place. I guess I could do that too, but anyway, moving on. One of the things I like about these seats is that you can lift them right up. There's no pulley or latch system, so you can do it one-handed. That's really simple. Back here, there is no power sliding window, or manual sliding one for that matter. That would have been nice to see on a truck at this price point, but for the most part, it's still really good. All right, driving the new Silverado RST. So this is the inline 6, which I've driven recently on the new GMC Sierra, but I can talk about it here as well. It's basically the same thing. The underpinnings of this truck are pretty much identical to the new Sierra, minus, you know, the exterior and interior differences on the two trucks. This is a great engine. It handles really well. It's very responsive. What I personally love the most is the steering. Very grippy around corners, super tight. The handling of this thing, it just feels great. Not a lot of blind spots in here, major ones at least. The C-pillars back there are pretty wide. Classic General Motors. They never learned from the Hummer H2. They have the super wide C and D pillars back there. But I think that it's great overall. As we conclude this video and it comes to a wrap, I'm sure you can hear those emergency sirens in the distance. I've heard a lot of those sirens today, and every time I hear them, I'm reminded to pray for those people, the paramedics, the police officers, the firefighters, because they have a dangerous job I pray for them to make the right choices, for discernment. And most importantly, I pray for the people that they're going to, that they're safe, that those people can help them, that the emergency responders can rescue them from whatever situation they're in. Because if you're calling an ambulance, you're probably not having a good day. I pray for people's salvation in that. If people are dying, that they do come to know Jesus. It's a sad reality of the world that we live in. I'm trying to film this fun pickup truck review, and I keep getting reminded that the world is a scary place with all the sirens and scary things. But God is still on the throne in the midst of all of that. Normally I would give you a little thanks for watching, guys, and then I'd transition into my Bible verse. I like to read a weekly Bible verse or a section of scripture, but I thought that was pretty pertinent. The sirens started up just as I was about to film this again, and so I thought that that was the Lord telling me, maybe you should bring that up, because when we hear those sirens, sometimes we might think, well, what can I do? What can I do? I'm just a guy. We can pray, and God can do the rest. So next time you hear those sirens, pray for the first responders and pray for the people they're going to, because all of them probably need help and wisdom in whatever that situation is. The verse I'd like to pick out today is Matthew 9:12. Kind of deals with physicians, but Jesus is speaking here in an analogy. See, he's eating with the tax collectors, which are very unliked people. It would be like if he was eating with a bunch of drug dealers and prostitutes. People would be like, excuse me, why are you eating with those people, Jesus? You know, why do you eat with all these people that are bad, that are perceived as evil? And in verse 12, Jesus says, but when he heard it, he heard the Pharisees upset, talking about, why is he eating with these tax collectors? But when he heard it, he said, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. So he's using the analogy that, you know, these people are not well, and they need Jesus. He's the healer, he's the physician in this analogy. And people that already have Jesus, well, he doesn't need to sit with them. They already have a relationship with him. But the people in need of him the most is who he should sit with. So again, on top of emergency services, I would encourage you, the people that you might have anger towards, the people that you might be spiteful of, go sit with them and love them like Jesus would, because they're the ones that truly need Jesus. If you're like, oh, I can't stand Tim at work, he's so mad all the time, or what a grumpy guy, well, go sit with Tim, because there's probably a reason that he's mad all the time and grumpy, and you might have the opportunity to show him the light of Jesus. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.